So, I mean, I do the whole thing for the whole season mostly. I miss just a couple. We do the whole season, then we do...
In 1985, Alec Baldwin was riding high on Knots Landing as the evil preacher Joshua Rush. Fans couldn't get enough of his dark character. But behind the scenes, something was happening that nobody talked about. Baldwin had broken a crucial clause in his contract. Then, during a rehearsal, he snapped at co-star. What he threw at her changed everything. She demanded his immediate removal from set. By the end of that year, Baldwin was gone, and his character was dead. The real reason was buried for decades. Alec Baldwin was born on April 3, 1958, in Amityville, but grew up in Massapequa, Long Island, in a busy little house packed with 6 children and a pair of determined parents. His father was a history teacher at Berner High School and stayed there for 28 years. He didn't make a lot of money, but he made sure every kid in that house knew the value of hard work. Alec played football and lacrosse, but what really made him stand out wasn't the games. It was the way he always had something to say. He challenged teachers. He pushed back, and that fire ended up shaping him more than any trophy ever could. The competition between him and his brothers ran deep early on, and it stuck. His mother, Carol Baldwin, became even more of a force later in life. In 1996, after being diagnosed with breast cancer, she launched the Carol M. Baldwin Breast Cancer Research Fund. By 2001, it had raised over $13 million and handed out more than 77 grants. One gala in 2025 alone raised $250,000. Carol's words, "Together we will find a cure," became more than a slogan. They became a family mission. Alec credits his sense of purpose, his need to speak up, to the lessons she taught him through both pain and persistence. Inside that crowded Baldwin house were 3 brothers and 2 sisters, all noisy, all dreaming, all trying to be seen. They had no stage, so they made their own with whatever was around. Acting didn't begin in school or on set. It started in the living room. Alec babysat his siblings, played silly roles in kitchen plays, and somewhere in all that noise, the acting seed was planted. That messy, chaotic house produced 4 famous brothers, each taking turns in the spotlight. But Alec was always the one pushing hardest. In 1976, Alec took a scholarship to George Washington University to study political science. Law school was the plan, but by 1978, he dropped out. He wanted something else, something louder, riskier. He worked nights at Studio 54 as a busboy, surrounded by celebrities and flashing lights while crashing on couches just to survive. In 1979, he entered NYU's Tisch School of the Arts and studied under Lee Strasberg. He was broke, tired, and hungry for a break. He got his first when he landed a spot on the soap opera The Doctors in 1982, filming 60 episodes in 6 months with early call times and no room for mistakes. It was fast, brutal, and it paid just enough to keep him in the city. A year later, in 1983, he joined Cutter to Houston on CBS, playing Dr. Hal Wexler. It aired on Saturday nights, and it tanked fast. 7 episodes, then gone. The cancellation came just 3 months after the premiere on October 1st. By December 31st, it was off the air. Alec was back to square one. He found new footing that same year in Minneapolis, cast as Sebastian in Twelfth Night at the Guthrie Theater. The role let him cut loose, test boundaries, improvise. He clashed with directors, argued over scenes, but the crowd loved it. It wasn't polished, but it was raw, and Alec fed off that. In 1984, Knots Landing came calling. Alec stepped into the role of Joshua Rush, a preacher with a dark side. The scripts were heavy. He memorized 30 pages a day and sank deep into character. It was unlike anything he'd done before. Joshua wasn't just a man of God. He was a manipulator, a cult leader, a threat. Alec played him for 56 episodes, and by the time the poisoning plot aired on January 17, 1985, audiences were stunned. He'd gone from being just another soap actor to someone they couldn't stop watching. The show gave him his first major success. It also gave him a relationship with co-star Lisa Hartman. Their off-screen romance fed the chemistry on screen. People on set noticed. It got awkward. The line between acting and reality blurred. And not everyone liked it. The pressure was building. Alec gained 20 pounds during filming, breaking his contract's weight clause. Soap actors had to stay lean, stay perfect. Producers gave warnings. He kept pushing. Tensions rose. One day in 1985, during a rehearsal, Alec got into a fight with Jan Maxwell after she missed a cue. He snapped, threw a green foam prop. It hit her. She demanded he be removed from set. The producers didn't ignore it. Between the weight clause violation and the backstage drama, the decision was made. Alec Baldwin was fired. His character didn't fade away. In episode 22 of season 7, Joshua Rush fell off a roof to his death. No subtlety, no return. Alec later called it humiliating. The date was clear. His run ended in 1985. The fallout wasn't just professional. The tabloids jumped on it. Nikki Swift would later call it a key point in his Temper timeline. Casting directors saw the headlines and hesitated. Studios didn't want the risk. He was nominated for 2 Soap Opera Digest Awards in 1986, Outstanding Villain and Leading Actor. But the shadow of the green foam and the weight clause hung heavy. Some producers called him temperamental. Others called him difficult, but none forgot him. And that was the strange part. Even when Alec Baldwin was at his lowest, he was still unforgettable. The very thing that got him fired, his intensity, was what made him stand out. The same rage that led to a flying foam prop was the same fire that made Joshua Rush real. He didn't fade, he got back up. And somehow, the kid from Massapequa with too many siblings, too many opinions, and not enough money turned his chaos into fuel. His name stayed on casting lists. His face stayed in the spotlight. Alec Baldwin was still unknown when he took his first real swing at Hollywood in 1987. He signed on to a low-budget movie called Forever, Lulu, where he played a streetwise hustler alongside Debbie Harry. The film barely had a $3 million budget, but it fell flat on its face. It opened in April and pulled just $10,126 on its first weekend. The final box office number didn't even reach $37,000 worldwide. Crew salaries couldn't even be covered. Baldwin later admitted the flop taught him exactly how ruthless the industry could be. The sting of that failure stayed with him. A year later, things changed. Baldwin got the role of Adam Maitland in Beetlejuice. The set wasn't normal. It was chaotic, playful, messy, in the best way. Michael Keaton was inventing new lines every day, and Baldwin couldn't stop laughing during reshoots. Scenes like, "It's showtime," weren't even in the script. They just happened. One line, "Save that guy for later," came out during a take and stuck. The madness worked. The movie brought in $84 million worldwide and gave Baldwin his first taste of success with something weird and wild. That same year, Working Girl gave him a suit, some slick lines, and a big step up. He played Louis Ranieri, a fast-talking yuppie alongside Melanie Griffith and Sigourney Weaver. Audiences loved the mix of ambition and office tension. The film scored 6 Golden Globe nominations and won 4, including Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Baldwin got his own nomination, and his paycheck jumped to $1 million per movie. From background roles to boardroom charmers, he was now leading man material. But Baldwin didn't stop there. In Married to the Mob, also released in 1988, he played a mobster named Frank DeMarco. This wasn't the polished businessman type. This guy was unpredictable. Baldwin and Michelle Pfeiffer had a chase scene that wasn't even planned. He made it up as he ran, slipping physical comedy into the tension. That improvisation earned him a spot on Variety's 10 to Watch list. Casting directors began to look at him differently. He could be funny, dangerous, and vulnerable all at once. Then came animation. After Beetlejuice exploded, Baldwin lent his voice to the animated version. He recorded 94 episodes between 1989 and 1991, helping shape the tone of a quirky kids show that ran for 4 seasons on ABC and later Fox. The cast recorded episodes together. It wasn't just voice work, it was performance. Baldwin got to try different rhythms, stretch his timing, and reach a younger crowd, which helped him step away from the soap opera image he'd started with. But trouble wasn't far behind. In 1989, Baldwin was arrested in New York City after yelling at officers over a parking ticket. He was described as verbally aggressive and combative. The incident ended with a night in jail and a disorderly conduct summons. He later admitted the arrest was a wake-up call. That wasn't the last time he'd lose control, but it was the first time the world saw his temper show up in headlines. In 1990, Baldwin landed the biggest role of his career up to that point, Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October. He replaced Harrison Ford, who was busy, and stepped into a Cold War thriller with a $30 million budget. Baldwin trained with Navy SEALs in San Diego to prepare for the tight submarine scenes. It worked. Critics praised his calm, intelligent presence. The movie grossed more than $200 million worldwide and pushed Baldwin into the action star category. He wouldn't return for sequels, but that one film proved he could carry a major box office hit. Then came The Marrying Man in 1991. The movie didn't just create a romance on screen, it ignited one off-screen between Baldwin and Kim Basinger. Their chemistry was real, but so were the fights. Baldwin was reportedly jealous and prone to outbursts. He once threw a phone at a crew member. The film cost $40 million, but only made $15 million at the box office. Still, the relationship carried on. They married in 1993, surrounded by flashing cameras and tabloids already predicting drama. That prediction would come true. In 1992, Baldwin took on the strangest role yet. In Prelude to a Kiss, he played a mysterious man who swaps bodies with a bride, played by Meg Ryan. The original Broadway play had already earned him a Tony nomination. On screen, he walked the line between loving and sinister. The movie made $30 million on a $12 million budget, and critics took note of his quiet menace. This wasn't just another romantic drama. It had a supernatural edge that let Baldwin show more layers. Later that year, Baldwin delivered the monologue that defined his film legacy. In Glengarry, Glen Ross, he walked into a room full of desperate salesmen and tore into them with the infamous line, "Always be closing." The scene lasted 15 minutes and was filmed in one take. There were no rehearsals. His performance stunned the rest of the cast, which included Al Pacino and Jack Lemmon. Though the film only made back its $12 million budget, Baldwin's speech became a piece of pop culture. He didn't win the Oscar, but the words followed him everywhere. In 1994, he took on The Getaway with Gina Davis. The remake had a $35 million budget, and Baldwin insisted on doing his own stunts. That included car crashes and fireballs. The production was slow and tense. Baldwin and Davis reportedly fought over creative control. Meanwhile, his marriage to Basinger was fraying. She wanted more family time. He was always on set. The film didn't help. It only earned $20 million. That mix of on-screen underperformance and off-screen pressure added cracks to their relationship that would keep growing. In 1995, Baldwin punched a photographer's camera during a heated argument over a parking space. It caused minor damage, but the story exploded. He settled the case for $4,500, but the headlines were unforgiving. A judge scolded him for setting a bad example. Baldwin apologized, but his temper was now part of his public story. The media called him volatile. The label stuck. Things got harder in 1996. He voiced Claudius in Beastmaster while locked in a bitter custody fight with Basinger. Their daughter, Ireland, had been born in 1995, and by the next year, they were already battling over parenting rights. The fight lasted years. Baldwin said he missed important moments. The stress showed in his work. His performance in Beastmaster lacked the spark of his earlier voice roles. The show ran from 1996 to 1998, but the damage to Baldwin's personal life was just beginning. Then, in 1997, Baldwin joined Anthony Hopkins in The Edge. It was shot deep in the Alaskan wilderness. Baldwin trained with local experts on how to avoid bear attacks, how to use spray, how to move in freezing weather. Crew members got frostbite. The script changed constantly, leading to fights with director Lee Tamahori. Baldwin believed his character was being watered down. Still, the movie pulled in $80 million. The experience, though, took a toll. Baldwin later said it was one of the hardest things he'd ever done. By 1999, Baldwin's marriage was over. He had filed for divorce from Basinger in 1998. That same year, he starred in Thick as Thieves, playing a dirty cop in New York City. The role fit his mood. The film made only $12 million on a $25 million budget, but his performance was raw. It matched the public's view of him, wounded, angry, but intense. The custody battle got uglier. Baldwin was painted as the villain, and he leaned into it on screen. That year, he also hosted Saturday Night Live again, something he had done many times since 1990. But in October 1998, one skit mocking his temper hit a nerve. Baldwin didn't just act, he snapped. On live TV, he confronted Lorne Michaels and stormed off. It almost ended his long run on the show. Eventually, he returned, but that night became a symbol. Even in comedy, The real Baldwin couldn't always stay buried. Then came the voicemail. In 1999, during a heated moment, Baldwin called his daughter Ireland and left a message calling her a thoughtless little pig. The recording leaked in 2007, but it was from those late 90s custody years. The fallout was instant. He lost visitation rights, had to undergo therapy, and the press devoured the story. Baldwin apologized, but the damage was done. That call followed him everywhere. People no longer saw him just as an actor. They saw a man unraveling in public. Even the stage wasn't safe. In 1996, Baldwin had directed and starred in The Devil and Daniel Webster at Circle in the Square Theater. It only ran for 24 performances. Critics said his acting was overdone, his directing self-indulgent. The reviews were brutal. Baldwin had believed in the show, invested in it emotionally, but the failure was total. He walked away with a bruised ego and another reminder that fame didn't protect him from criticism. Alec Baldwin's story moves in a slow pull that keeps tightening, the way one moment slides straight into the next until you are already deep inside his life without noticing. It starts in 2016, when he walked onto the set of The Boss with Melissa McCarthy and decided the movie would not stay inside its script. The film had only a $15 million budget, and everyone expected a simple comedy. Instead, Baldwin and McCarthy built a prison escape scene in the middle of shooting, playing with ideas, pushing each other, laughing through takes, ignoring the original plan. The director, Ben Falcone, tried to keep control, but Baldwin kept adding new lines, new gags, and whole moments that were never written. When the movie finally came out and earned $78 million worldwide, the escape scene was the part everyone remembered. Yet the laughter on screen hid the anger backstage. Falcone felt Baldwin had taken over the movie. Baldwin felt he was saving it. They argued about the final cut right at the film's premiere, in front of reporters. After that night, they barely spoke for months. That same restless energy followed Baldwin into Mission Impossible when he played Alan Hunley in Rogue Nation in 2015. He was 57 but refused stunt doubles for most of his helicopter scenes. The work was freezing, the hours long, the takes endless. He filmed parts of it at Legal Helicopter in Los Angeles and stayed on set even when everyone else took breaks. When Fallout arrived in 2018, Baldwin was 60 and earning about $15 million for each film in the franchise that had already pulled in almost $4 billion worldwide. Fallout cost around $250 to $260 million to make, partly because Tom Cruise got injured and the cast, including Baldwin, had to stay on standby for weeks. Yet Baldwin kept pushing for real action because he liked the feeling of doing something honest, something earned. In 2018, he moved behind the camera for One Nation Under Stress, a $1.2 million documentary that premiered at Tribeca. He worked with Dr. Bessel van der Kolk and other experts to explore why Americans were growing more anxious each year. The reviews were mixed. Some praised the honesty. Others said Baldwin's voice pushed his own politics too hard, especially when he blamed the media for creating fear by ignoring issues like climate change and Ukraine. The film never made money, and most people watched it online instead of theaters. But Baldwin stayed proud of it because it came from something real in him. That same year, he was everywhere. He hosted the Match Game reboot that ABC ran from 2017 to 2019, filming 60 episodes and earning about $1 million per year. The seasons cost almost $2 million to produce, and the show grew a small but loyal fan base. Then people started complaining that Baldwin chose his friends too often for panel spots. Busy Phillips showed up again and again, while other comedians were ignored. The network let the show fade out quietly, ending after 3 seasons, leaving Baldwin with one more piece of controversy trailing behind him. And then came the parking spot fight in November 2018. A man pulled into a space Baldwin believed was his, and Baldwin lost control. He shouted that the man stole his spot, pushed him, and according to court papers, allegedly punched him in the face. The man went to the hospital with jaw pain. Baldwin was arrested, charged, and then eventually pleaded no contest to harassment. He was ordered to complete 24 anger management sessions. Cameras followed him everywhere, and the story became another moment where the public could not understand how someone so successful could explode over something so small. Around the same time, he acted in The Public, a $1.5 million film about homeless people occupying a library. Baldwin played a lawyer who tries to solve the standoff. The movie's heart was big, but the audience was small. It made only $644,740 worldwide and appeared in just 121 theaters. Critics liked his performance, but the film disappeared quickly. Nothing, however, compared to what happened on October 21st, 2021. Baldwin was on the set of Rust, a $6.5 million Western that needed practical effects because of the small budget. He practiced with a prop gun that he believed was safe. Around 1:30 in the afternoon, during a rehearsal, he pointed it toward the camera to set up the shot. The gun fired a live round. Helena Hutchins, only 42, was hit in the chest. Director Joel Souza was struck in the shoulder. Baldwin said it felt like he had been hit by a cannon. Hutchins collapsed. The crew froze. She was rushed to the hospital but died shortly after. The world found out within hours, and the set never reopened. Investigators tried to understand how a live round appeared on a movie set. Baldwin insisted he had been told the gun was cold. For months, the story became the central conversation in Hollywood. People questioned prop safety, gun safety, and whether practical effects were worth the risk. Baldwin was not arrested that day, but in January 2023, he was charged with involuntary manslaughter. If convicted, he faced up to 18 months in prison. His defense argued he followed the rules. The prosecution said he should have checked the weapon himself. The case dragged on until July 2024, when Judge Mary Marlowe Summer dismissed the charges because prosecutors had failed to hand over key evidence. Hutchins' family was outraged. Baldwin was legally cleared, but the debate around him stayed alive. Civil suits piled up. Hutchins' family and script supervisor Mamie Mitchell filed claims seeking $7 million. Baldwin responded with a countersuit in October 2025, arguing that prosecutors and producers had targeted him unfairly. He said the ordeal gave him PTSD and left him feeling like a hunted animal. A federal judge moved his countersuit to federal court. Nothing is settled yet. Each side wants justice. No one agrees on what justice means. In 2024, the armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 18 months in prison. She was the first armorer ever convicted in a Hollywood fatality. Her trial brought out stories of a chaotic set and missed safety checks. Even with her conviction, the larger fight continued because the tragedy touched everyone on that set in ways no sentence could undo. By 2025, the weight of it all cracked Baldwin open. In his TLC series, The Baldwins, he admitted he had written goodbye letters to each of his 7 children before the 2024 trial, believing he might go to prison. He said the guilt stayed with him day and night. The country watched these confessions with shock. Few actors of his level had ever spoken this bluntly about despair. The story returns to his family again and again because Baldwin's life always circles back to them. He met Hilaria Thomas at a Manhattan vegan restaurant on June 17, 2011. They married in 2012. Their first child, Carmen Gabriela, arrived on October 21, 2013, followed by Raphael Thomas on June 16, 2015. By 2022, they had 7 children, including twins in 2019 and another set in 2022. During the Rust trial in March 2025, they left handwritten letters for each child in case the verdict changed everything. Their life looks chaotic from outside, full of yoga classes, homeschooling, and paparazzi. Yet Baldwin always says this chaos keeps him alive. In 2024, he acted in Clear Blue Tuesday, released on September 11th. He played a therapist working with survivors of trauma. To prepare, he used his own therapy notes from anger management sessions back in 2022. The project filmed in 28 days, with Baldwin working 14-hour shifts. It premiered on June 15th at Tribeca and earned a 78% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. People began seeing hints of the old Baldwin again, the one who could hold a room through truth instead of shock. In January 2025, he returned to television with The Baldwins on TLC. Each episode ran 42 minutes. It showed family arguments, podcast tapings, therapy reflections, and the messy mix of fame, and home life. His podcast had already passed 200 episodes with guests like Kristen Stewart and Tom Hanks. His memoir, Nevertheless, released in 2017, had sold over 300,000 copies. By age 67, he had built a net worth of about $100 million from more than 200 acting credits. When younger actors asked for advice, he told them to go to therapy before they tried to chase Hollywood. Through all of this, Ukraine stayed close to him because his daughter Maria was born there via surrogate in 2022. That year, he raised over $1 million for relief efforts, with the biggest fundraiser held on May 12th in New York for 500 guests. Critics pointed to his 2017 work in a film connected to Russia, questioning his stance. Still, Ukraine awarded him honorary citizenship in December 2022. He kept posting updates about refugees and medical aid because it felt personal now, almost like protecting part of his own family. In October 2025, he reached a private settlement with Hutchins' family. The amount stayed undisclosed. It allowed Rust to be completed and released. The film premiered on November 8, 2025, with Baldwin dedicating screenings to Hutchins. He stood on stage and talked about her work, her life, her eye for beauty. The movie became more than a film. It became a marker in Baldwin's life, a point he would always return to.